Started here. Good morning. Welcome to the Real Estate Backstory. This is our weekly edition. Every single week, we kind of roll out what's going on in the real estate world here in the Atlanta area. Our kind of takes, we try and expose the soft underbelly of the real estate world. So my name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker at Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker from Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we are joined by our friends over at Lueder, Larkin Hunter. So Deb and Beth is with us today, and thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Always. Thank you for having us.
I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And so,
we'll start off. Today is a happy International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day.
Yeah. Well, and where I kind of wanted to start with this, in the real estate industry, we are blessed to be probably one of the most diverse industries that, as far as having women leadership kind of thing. You don't have to look very far to see some amazing business owners that are women. And so in the real estate world, for residential real estate, it's about 70% of residential real estate agents are females. And the great part about that is that as a real estate agent, you are not just an agent. You are not a realtor. You are a small business person. And so like our company, for example, is female owned. It's like Ming owns the majority of our company. So she's really the boss. And that's a really great thing because, being able to be the boss, be the owner, chart your path, that is a really great thing. And that's one of the things I love about real estate a whole lot out there. And then being able to work with such other amazing women leaders, both within our company and then even with our wonderful business partners, right, kind of thing.
And our agents who are small entrepreneurs themselves. And so it's been such a blessing to see them flourish and grow over the year.
Yeah. You got any advice for other female entrepreneurs, business owners? I'm just throwing you on the spot there.
Well, it's okay. It's like everything else in real estate. It's about relationship. And sometimes it's hard to get in a certain market. But if you cultivate that relationship with the folks that you're trying to have a business partnership with, and that's going to take you a long, long way. And, relationship takes time, y'all. It's not an instantaneous thing. And sometimes it does take introduction from other people to give you some type of credibility and also stance with that relationship part. So, develop a relationship, and I promise you will go far. And how about you guys, Beth and Deb? As a female business owner.
I know we took you on the spot. You didn't really want to go here, but we
I know. I'll just say this. I've been practicing real estate law it'll be 33 years this May.
You started when you were 7.
I started with a fairly big firm, went out on my own with a couple of partners after about 3 years of practice. And when I first opened my office in Noonan, the relationship, nobody knew who I was, of course. And so it was all about relationships. I think I tried to get into every sales meeting as often as possible. I got really involved in the board of realtors, was their legal counsel for years, but just kept going to events and meeting people and trying to give back. Got on the board for Noonan County Habitat and just got, getting to know people. So I do think that is the most important thing about our business.
Is that a relationship piece? How about you, Beth?
Yeah, well, I've been really fortunate. I've been practicing for almost 8 years now, and Deborah's been my mentor. And so she has guided me and taught me and taken me to the board lunches and to the sales meetings. And so I've been really fortunate to learn all of that from her.
Awesome. Well, how is business right now? What are you seeing on the horizon for real estate closings and real estate transactions? There is the only constant we have right now is change. And so, what are you guys seeing happening in the market right now?
Well, I'll say here, it's not slowing down. We had a record break in February. Usually February is our
Awesome.
slowest month. It's very, it can just be brutally slow. And in this case, February was busier than some of our other busy months. So I don't see it slowing down. I have been hearing that interest rates are going up a little bit, but we've also heard that people that have been
We'll
sitting
talk
on
about
the
that, yeah.
fence are now want to jump on because they've been waiting for them to go lower. And now that they see they're going higher, they're jumping back
They're
in.
just jumping. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was for me. And again, for my entire practice, January and February were record breaking months. And I have heard, again, rates going up. I did ask one of our top lenders, well, have you seen a slowdown in the applications? And they did say, well, if anything, they went up because people that were waiting said, oh, I better go ahead and lock in. So I don't know how it's going to go. You know, there's nothing normal anymore right now. So we're just, we haven't seen, our pipeline is still quite good. And we're very lucky. We're very lucky.
Great.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing on the brokerage here.
On the brokerage level too. Now, with that said, what are some of the real estate issues that you may have seen lately or want to discuss?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were going to discuss, we've had a lot of problems with titles related to estates lately. And we can go over this every month. There's always, it's just that it seems like so Beth and I each have different circumstances on files that we were going to give an example. And the reason it's important for the agents is not only is it important for the listing agent to know if they're working with somebody that is involved in an estate, that what you see is not always what you get.
Absolutely.
And from the buyer side, knowing that if there is that kind of situation, it may legitimately delay the closing, but it usually can be resolved, you know, if somebody really wants the house. So,
yeah, but it runs the full gamut on how long that takes, right? I mean,
it does.
From a couple weeks to a couple months kind of thing.
So I'll give my example first that I'm working on. Well, Beth and we have a new associate too. She's been helping. So we have a sale. There was probate. There was an estate. There was a will. They probated it. There's letters testamentary. The executor went to sell the property, and the will, it's set. The heirs signed off on the petition, so everything looked good. And the guy thinks, okay, I can sell the property. Well, in the will, it gave the heirs basically the first right of refusal on the property. So we had to go back to the same heirs that signed the petition and literally get deeds releasing their interest to buy the property. So it did. We were very lucky that they all signed off in about 2 weeks, but they were all not all in Georgia. One gentleman was in the hospital that we had and got out and signed it, and we were able to do a couple of them on Zoom. But we got it fixed, so now we can go ahead and close. But after the buyer now has to get a survey, but you just wouldn't know that unless you actually read the will. You would think everything was okay because look, it got probated, they got letters testamentary. Great, I can go ahead and list the property. But it was deeper than that, and it could have been a problem.
And then it's weird. I've had 2 situations in the last couple of weeks that are similar that I've honestly haven't come across in, I don't know, a long time. So we had a property and the main house was owned by a husband and wife as joint tenants with rights to survivorship. They've lived there for like 20 something years. And the husband passed away recently. And the agent just looked at the face of the deed to the house and saw joint tenants with rights to survivorship and thought, oh, we can just go ahead and sell it, no problem. Well, when we run the title, we discovered that the husband and wife bought the main house as joint tenants with rights to survivorship in 1999. At the same time, another deed, I think they discovered that the driveway was not on that property. So they did some title clearance, got another deed from the neighbors conveying the strip of property next door that it contained a driveway. Well, the problem is on the separate deed that they got from the neighbors, it didn't have joint tenants with rights of survivorship. So all of a sudden we have a seller that can sell the house without having to go through probate, but they can't sell the driveway without having to go through probate. And so we got a lot of pushback on that, but there's no way to clear title to the driveway. The lender doesn't want to give a loan on property that doesn't have a driveway. The buyers don't want to buy a house that doesn't have access to the driveway. So it actually and then it was we jumped through a lot of hoops, and I think we're about to get it cleared up, but we got a lot of pushback because the seller didn't want to probate a will, because that was really the only thing that was requiring the probate of the will was that strip of driveway. And then similarly, very similar situation, we had a married couple that owned a house. They lived there for 20 something years. About 10 years ago, they bought the vacant lot next door. And when they bought the vacant lot next door, that didn't include joint tenants with rights or survivorship. So again, we had a seller that could sell their house without having to go through probate after the husband died, but they couldn't sell the lot next door that was supposed to go with it, as the contract stated. In that case, it was a Coweta County property, and we had already gone through going to the lender, and the vacant lot didn't have any driveway or anything on it. So the lender said, we can just take that out of the deal. They can sell it separately once the probate's done via a separate transaction. But in the meantime, the seller got right on it, went to Coweta County, and he got the will probated in less than a week. So now it's back into the deal. And I think actually they said because of COVID, the probate court isn't holding as much court and hearings like they used to. So the judges are just sitting around, the clerks are swearing people in. It's just going a lot faster, at least in Coweta County. So that was another one pushback, but it ended up getting cleared up even before it was supposed to close to begin with. But that was I think
all those examples to me illustrate the need of using a professional real estate attorney in all your transactions dealing with real estate. Because in most of those, what we see is where, well, we just bought it from a neighbor, so they did some kind of a quitclaim deed, or a buddy that's a lawyer does this kind of stuff, and they don't know what they're doing. And at the end of the day, it messes things up. And they're like, well, it's just a cheap way to do it. And yeah, it's a cheap way. And then what they get you, it got you the way to the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, using a real estate attorney, and I'm not knocking other attorneys kind of thing, but I one thing I love is that, when it comes to real estate, like, you guys know what you're doing, and those kind of things don't happen when you use a professional real estate attorney. And so if you don't have one, I am going to encourage you to consider Lueder, Larkin, and Hunter. They're our friends over there. We can count on them. If you need them, email max1vip@Lueder Law, and they'll answer questions. They'll help you with anything. They really are just an amazing resource for agents. So if you don't have a relationship, consider jumping in on ours with us. But you need to have someone that is in your court that knows what's going on and can make sure that you don't end up with those kind of goofy mistakes. Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work up front just to find out in the back end that you can't close.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time.
All right. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you joining us. You're welcome to hang out with us if you got any other kind of comments or anything like that.
We just want to say thank you again for our relationship, and the Max One VIP at LuederLaw.com. And we can be your one point of contact, Beth and I, in our office. And then if you tell us, once you want to close at any of our 23 offices, you just tell us where, but we can handle everything on our end with our one team. And also, please feel free to reach out if you do have a listing with an estate and you want to make sure that everything is okay. We'll try to do what we can to tell you, up front. And then if you need, any questions that you have, that's what we're here for. So let us know.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
If you got anything else to add, feel free to chime in. Or if you got it written, we understand that too. So we're going to kind of jump ahead. I did want to, being as this is International Women's Day, this did kind of come across my desk, which I found to be kind of interesting. Guess what, ladies? You're paying higher mortgage rates than men in every state but one. Alaska is the only state where women pay a lower mortgage rate, kind of thing. And one of the biggest issues is that, ladies, you need to shop around. Shop around.
And we're pretty good about shopping.
Well, and that's true if you're talking shoes. But when it comes to mortgages, I'm just saying.
He is right.
The study, the numbers show that women shop for mortgages less, and then women end up paying higher mortgage rates than men in almost every single state. And so this should be 50-50 because, and maybe even a little bit slightly more. There's about 7 million more women than there are men in the United States, but men are paying lower mortgage rates. And so this is one thing that we need to, I find this kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you, kind of thing.
Right.
And so, a half a point, a quarter point over a 30-year mortgage.
It's a lot of money.
Big bucks,
Yeah,
folks.
absolutely.
So please don't get taken advantage of out there. It's really kind of the big thing there. All right. We have a ton of training this week. Okay. So on tomorrow, we have MLS Tax Suite is a 3-hour CE class, followed by, or at the same time, we also have How to Become Lender Ready and Leverage Business Credit. Teresa McIntosh is teaching that amazing class. On Wednesday, Dana is teaching Know Who's Protected Under Fair Housing Legislation. And in today's litigation world, we need more and more of that. At 1 o'clock, Shantha's teaching Mobile Apps for Agents, another great one. Thursday at 9:30, I'm teaching RPR, Realtors Property Resource. And basically getting started with RPR. This is a great member benefit for realtors. You have to be a realtor to take advantage of RPR.
You can't.
But please join me, because so many agents have no idea what it is, and this is a great member benefit. It does an amazing job. And then also on Thursday at 1 o'clock, Lynn is teaching 2021 GAR contract changes. So if you still haven't had that class this year, please jump in and get that. Guess what, folks? The bad news is mortgage rates hit 3%. So for, I don't know, probably the last month, I hate to be the person that says, I told you so, but we kept saying, tell your clients to lock in, tell your clients to lock in, tell your clients to lock in. And now mortgage rates hit 3%. So this is the first time we averaged 3.02%. And so here's the good and bad. One is we have seen a lot of folks that were thinking it was going to continue to go down, and they didn't lock in. So now, the lenders have been getting a whole group of folks that have been jumping in to get it before it goes up anymore. I don't see really big jumps in the mortgage rate throughout the next year, but I'm not sure that we may dip back down under 3, but it's pretty doubtful, at least in my humble opinion, kind of thing. But we're going to be in that 3 to mid 3s probably through most of the year, and so it's probably not going to be getting a whole lot better. Mainly because the economy is doing a lot better, kind of thing, and our interest rates follow the 10-year Treasury, and so it's time. If you have clients that haven't locked,
and if they're just contemplating, please let them know that the mortgage rate is coming back up. Granted, it's not as big a swing as a 4.5 or 5% mortgage rate, but still, every little bit helps.
Yeah, and honestly, with the price appreciations, and we'll talk about that a little bit more that we've seen, a quarter point makes a big difference, kind of thing. And so we need to be helping our folks really get their rates locked in and be ready to roll, because they're only going to be moving up from here on out.
Right.
I don't mean to scare anyone. It's not going to be like crazy up, kind of thing. Because even the mortgage rates or the mortgage applications, they were up about a half a point. Purchases were up 2%. Refis were up only a 0.1%, kind of thing, 0.1%. Sorry. And so that is continuing to move forward as far as all that goes. So we also had some other news come out that Americans have saved 1.6 trillion since the pandemic began. And I want to talk about how big that number is, because when you see that the savings rate in America has increased, okay, Americans account for half of global savings during the pandemic. For the entire world, the US, of all savings, the US accounts for half of all savings in the world since the pandemic or during the pandemic. What that number is equivalent to is the same as South Korea's GDP. Okay, their gross domestic product output was the amount that we have saved as Americans since the pandemic began. And it's actually, as a matter of fact, Americans have saved more than there was in a decline in spending. And so what that really means is that when we did decline in spending, guess what we did?
We saved.
We shoved it in the bank is what we've done. And so that's really good for housing, and it's really good for the economy. There is a lot of pent up money out there that's ready once things ease up a little bit
Once
better.
your confidence is back.
So, that looks to be really, really good for us moving forward. At the same time, the manufacturing index was up in February. February's manufacturing index was at a 60.8. And while that number doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself, 60.8% is the highest that the manufacturing index has been in 16 years. So it is really,
So
really
we're
rocking.
generating here and increasing our production, which is awesome.
Yep. Now on the jobless front, jobless claims rose that last week a little bit. It came in just slightly under estimates kind of thing. February payroll employment came in at 379,000 new jobs created, which is a really good sign for what's going on with the economy and those kind of things. But on the real estate world, construction and real estate employment fell in the jobs report. And this is one of the scary things, is that construction employment declined by 61,000 jobs. Okay. And that to me is like, holy smokes, we need houses so bad. And the building industry, is having a hard time with that. Overall, real estate lost around 4,500 jobs in February, but those losses came in both rentals and basically the leasing, commercial leasing, rental leasing, that kind of stuff. That's where all the fall in that came. But part of the National Association of Home Builders did a study and really kind of highlighted the affordability issues kind of thing. And they found that for $1,000 increase in the home purchase price, which is right at $350,000 right now, for every $1,000, it pushes another 150,000 households out of the market kind of thing. Right now, about 60% of all U.S. households are currently unable to afford a new medium-priced home. All right, and so there are several factors that go into that, and it's not just the builders being greedy right now, kind of thing. So we're having severe shortages on building materials. So like right now, windows are 4 months out, 4 months just to get your house like secured in, kind of thing. And by the way, you don't put siding on until after the windows goes in. The costs right now, lumber prices are up 180% in the last 10 months, almost double where it's been, kind of thing.
And don't be surprised if you get a notice from the new construction builder stating that they'll let you out of contract unless you adjust the new sale price. And I've seen it anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000 due to the material costs.
Yeah.
And, I had an agent ask me, can they technically do this? I say, yes, absolutely, because
Written into their contract.
it's written in their contract. Not only that, they're basically letting you have your earnest money back if your buyer is, one, unable to afford a higher price, or two, don't want it.
Yeah, we've seen several of the builders that were building entry-level homes that have backed out of those contracts because the average home right now, the lumber prices alone are costing around $24,000 more than they were last year. And so if you had buyers that had a contract on a home
that was pre-built, 6 months, 7 months out,
we're seeing where the builders are backing out of those contracts. And so be careful and make sure that you're staying in touch with those builders, kind of thing.
With the listing agent, because you don't want to find out 3 months in before they pull permit that your buyer's technically homeless.
Yep.
Because of price.
Now, here, as far as new construction in the Atlanta market, in the Atlanta metro area, our median new home sale price is $286,000. So it's slightly less than the national average of 350. So we're 286 is our average. On average, the average person needs to make $63,000 a year to qualify for that average new construction home. And basically, right now, for every $1,000 that an increase goes up, it's another 4,082 families who can't afford that price increase. So the builders are aware of what's going on with it. They're not, and believe me, they really are trying to get it down, but they've got labor issues, they have material issues, they have product cost issues, and they even have availability issues. Dirt is just a way more expensive now than it has been. So there's a lot of challenges on there. At the same time, a new report came out, and we have 50% less homes for sale this year than last year, and we have 27% more demand. So when we have half the houses and 25% more demand, that kind of shows you where we're at. So overall, in the Atlanta area, new listings are down by 24%. Active listings down by 60%, 58%. And so our median listed price is $377,000. Average days on market is 19. And the median is 37. So, or down 19 because with the median of 37. So, we've got to.
Well, as a listing agent, make sure you ask the right question.
Yeah.
One of them being is that, do you have to buy and, once you sell your home?
Yeah.
Because a lot of sellers are now facing to be homeless
now is a great time, and I know that every realtor out there is like, don't wait to sell. This is a great time to sell. And it really is. The challenge is are you going to make your friends homeless? Because, we can make you homeless really, really quickly kind of thing. We are, we have agents out there telling sellers like, give me 8 hours and I'll sell your home. Let me have a Saturday open house and your home will be sold. And it's not wrong for homes that are priced right. That really is exactly how that's going. As a seller, the other really great thing for our sellers is that right now we have historical home seller gains. A home seller today has more in equity than any time since they've started tracking numbers. So the historical home seller gains is right at $68,000. You can see where it was just a few years ago kind of thing. And so we're definitely not back in the negatives kind of thing. We're at the highest level we've ever been kind of thing. So profits are the highest since 2005 when they started keeping records kind of thing. The average gain on a typical sale was about $68,000, which was up in 2019, which was up in 2018. On average, it's representing around a 35% return on investment. Hey, stock market, can't touch that kind of thing. On the positive side, cash sales were down kind of thing. Cash sales made up the smallest part of purchases since 2007. Also at the same time, distressed sales hit a 15-year low, but we all know that that's really because of forbearance, right? Yeah. Exactly. That
and a moratorium right now.
So at the same time, CoreLogic conducted a survey and found that 76% of non-homeowners 18 or older said they have no plans to purchase because we're scaring the daylights out of our buyers right now. And it really is kind of thing. The biggest deterrent for our buyers right now is affordability. And we're seeing that go on and on. And so we have had historically low mortgage rates, which has been
and honestly, right now, if you have a DPA program, I can tell you that you are not going to be selected with multiple offers. And unfortunately, that is where it is. So a lot of buyers are being counseled to make sure to have the down payment and closing costs prior to even going to the market.
Right. And so what we're seeing is that, the home purchase indexes it's at its highest point ever kind of thing. And we are not looking at that declining, but we are looking at that number not looking quite as scary to our buyers. And what I mean by that is the pandemic really started raging last year about this time and everything shut down. And so for the next 2 months, we'll still see huge numbers over last year. And that's what's going to kind of take up the headlines. But then we're going to start moving into where we start, last year, come April, May is when the prices started really kind of jumping up and availability was really tight. And so at that point, we're going to start seeing a much more modest increase over prior year. And now that we see interest rates inching up, I think we're going to start seeing home pricing leveling off, which is really what it needs to be. We can't maintain 14, 17% over prior year as it continues to move ahead. Because, you know, we just hit our highest list to sale price ratio of all time. And so, you know, the average list to sale price ratio rose 1.6% year over year. And it was at a high of 99.6. And now it's at 99.9, which is
huge,
staggering when you talk about the list price versus the actual sale price being 99.9% of the time. That means that 99.9, almost 100% of our contracts are selling at list price average. Now, what we are seeing is a lot of them are going over list, and then we still have some of those folks that don't have any idea what the market is, and they're still overpriced.
Yeah, and then you also have some home that had a lot of deferred maintenance, which they think they can list at fair market value, and that's where the decline in purchase price. So in between the two, where a move-in ready home will sell more than a deferred maintenance home.
Yep. We have, for your buyers out there, we have more buyers shopping for MultiGen homes than ever before. Right now, we have hit a 9-year high, and even though it says a 9-year high, that's just as long as they've been keeping that data. It's the highest that we're at. 15% of our buyers are shopping for multi-generational houses, and so what that really means is that we're starting to see people that maybe had a partially finished basement are now finishing it out, putting another kitchen and a laundry room downstairs kind of thing, because multi-gen is a big deal. And for your sellers, if you have the ability to market your home as multi-gen, this is a great selling feature for your home. So understand that multi-gen is a big deal right now. I mean, for a long time, it really didn't seem like that was going to be a big deal. We had a lot of times basements and things like that was just kind of seen as extra space and those kind of things. Or just being finished off for a media room, that kind of stuff. Well, stop the media rooms, put a little kitchen, put a bathroom, put a laundry room down there, boom, you got a multi-gen house. That kind of thing it really is extremely popular kind of thing. Also this past week, FHA extended mortgage forbearance for multifamily owners. And that one is actually kind of an important one, because multifamily owners, those are the ones who have been kind of hit hardest.
The duplexes.
I know that the renters have been hit hardest, but the folks who were holding those mortgages still had to pay. And so the fact that they've extended that's a big thing for us. And so if you have any of your clients that dabble in multifamily, let them know that it has been extended out through June 30th now as well. So I want to talk a little bit about iBuyers real quick. And so first thing is that Opendoor released its first earnings report. And I find this
staggering.
Yeah, like beyond confusing kind of thing. So Opendoor went public. They have a ton of money. So Opendoor has lost money forever kind of thing. So last year, Opendoor posted a net loss of $286 million. They lost $87 million just in the fourth quarter. In 2019, they lost $339 million. And in the fourth quarter of 2019, they lost $91 million. At the same time, they are growing. People are throwing money. Wall Street is throwing money at these folks, and they continue to lose their shirts. And they're very optimistic about it. And if I was going to say, hey, let's start a business, I'm only going to lose $286 million next year. Want to give me some money? People would laugh me out of the building. And so I know that the whole idea is that they want to fundamentally change how real estate is done. I get that people think that they're going to be the next Uber kind of thing, the Uber of real estate and that kind of stuff. But what I am very hopeful for is that they've lost $600 million over the last couple of years. At some point, that's got to come to roost. And so that is kind of like my big hope and feel there, is that if they keep losing money the way they are, pretty much hand over fist, at some point, people are going to be like, you know what, all we've done is throw our money in a hole. So I am kind of optimistic as well as baffled by how much money they have and how much money they lose at
I
the
told
same
Alan
time.
they got to have one incredible presentation for these investors to
Yeah.
where, and like smart investor knows when you invest in a business, the first 3 year it's not going to make any money. But if you have an aggressive and have data to back up your business plan, some investor will come along for the ride because they know you're large industrial and you have the analyst for it.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if they keep on going this and they're not hitting their budget, they may be some issue for Opendoor down the road.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of iBuyers, Realology, that's a mouthful to say, is bringing a realtor to Atlanta. So we have another iBuyer platform. Yay, iBuyers. No, not really, but just it just kind of is what it is kind of thing. Also, there's a new analysis out that apartment complexes don't decrease nearby property values. So there was a college and basically what they did over in Utah, in Salt Lake City, they went in and looked up in the area around multifamily, around apartment complexes, do property values decrease? And guess what? They don't. They actually increase more at a higher value per square foot. So the whole thing of not in my backyard, I don't want apartments near me, it may not be necessarily the case anymore, because we're seeing where apartment complexes like no one wants the rundown, beat down, that kind of stuff, but most of the apartment complexes being built are not that way kind of thing.
And they aesthetically, they're very appealing. And not only that, they have a lot of amenities now, kind of like your high rises and downtown Atlanta. They're building in amenities to where it's fun.
Yeah.
So
we had a federal judge in Texas ruled the eviction ban unconstitutional. Now, this doesn't have a whole lot of impact for us here in Georgia right now. Right now, they're kind of holding, the judge hasn't even decided what to do with it right now. This is a touchy one because we know that renters are having a hard time. They're the ones that have been impacted the most. But the other side of that is we have a lot of our landlord tenants, our landlord clients, friends, that are holding those mortgages, they still have to make the mortgage kind of thing. So at the same time, that's kind of a big deal. We're going to wrap up a little bit today with some news about, well, millennials in a second. I'm sorry. First, I want to talk about Mick and Bevis. So we have had a drop in the U.S. fertility rate. And this is going to change. Well, it's not a recent one kind of thing. We've been making less babies than we have been in the past kind of thing. And so if you look at in 1985, 58% of buyers had children in the home under the age of 18. Right now, it's almost half. 33% of our buyers have children in the home who are under the age of 18. And so that, I'm not saying that you should go out and make babies. That's not my point here.
these are just statistics.
Yeah, these are. But and so, but that does mean that we need to be understanding that, the needs of buyers are going to be changing, because when you have kids, what's always the big push for when you have kids? School. School.
School being a primary, and then of course
school, size, that kind of stuff, safety, those kind of things. And so, expect to see, and we've already seen some of that. It used to be, the high school district was, those high schools and having the high rating, that drove the bus for them. And not that that's not still important to a lot of our buyers. It really is as well. But if you don't have children, do you care? Not really, kind of thing,
And if there's a cluster neighborhood that's really nice and it's in a good area, but not necessarily a good school district, that may be a consideration for some home buyers as well.
So just, this is more of FYI. Look, things is a change in kind of thing. And so that's just one of those things, kind of how it is. There is a new Millennial home buyer report that came out. And I wanted to kind of share a little bit about what the buyers, and this is really current data kind of thing. So what are the buyers looking at? And so first thing is, what percent of our millennials would be willing to buy a fixer-upper? That continues to increase. Millennials are up to 71%. Our boomers are at about 62%. They've also had, I think anyone is willing to buy fixer-uppers right now. The challenge is or, fixer uppers to be had for the most part.
Well, not only that, material hard to come by. If not, the material is a lot more expensive.
And the labor. So,
So,
what percentage of millennials will buy a house after just viewing 40 photos? 44% of millennials will buy a house with just photos, 31% with a virtual tour, and a quarter of them with a live virtual tour with someone walking around.
And there's a lot of agents that are going to the houses and doing virtual tour for their clients.
We're
right
seeing
now.
that more and more out there, kind of thing. Are you buying because interest rates are low? 40% of millennials say yes. Boomers, 33%, yes. But the millennials are really interested in low interest rates. And what do we see happening this week? Interest rates rising. And so get your millennials locked in, because that's an important buying feature for buying issue for our buyers.
For the millennial.
It's a good word, kind of thing. How much home are they looking for? Bigger is better, baby. Sorry. So today's millennials are looking for a larger square homes and square footage homes. And that's why we've seen a lot more millennials going outside, out into the burbs and then out into the rural areas, kind of thing, because they're looking for
2,400
on average 2,400 square foot
versus the 1,700.
But but that's changed in 1 year's time, because when they polled millennials last year and said, what size square foot home? They were like 1,700 was the average. Now it's almost 2,400. They want an additional 700 square foot.
Well, because some of them are working from home, so that extra space for home office is very important to them.
Yeah. So try doing a Zoom in a 1-bedroom apartment. So so millennials have more savings than they did a year ago, kind of thing. But they're still struggling to afford down payments. And we see that that's going to be always one of those big issues out there, kind of thing. The positive is that, the average, the largest group of millennials have up to $10,000 to put towards a home. And a quarter of them, and if you've added up, almost half of the millennials have over $10,000 to put towards the down payment. That is a really good thing. So millennials are moving into first-time buyer age, kind of thing. And so, overall, the millennials, one thing that you've got to get out of your head is that millennials are only looking for cheap houses. Because, about a quarter of the millennials are looking in the price range under 150,000 and less. But that means 75% of millennials are shopping over $150,000. And so, we see it where a lot of millennial first-time buyers are buying at $300,000, which seems odd to have that first-time buyer home, kind of thing.
Yeah, for our normal step-up home. But, millennial has learned most of them, a lot of them actually have learned to save. And they both save, the female and the male, they both save while living at mom and dad's home to where they get enough down payment. I have one that has $100,000 put down. Well, that's incredible for a millennial.
8% of millennials are shopping for homes over $500,000. 8% over $500,000 homes, which is awesome.
I know.
They don't have as much money to put down on their next home, but around and that one has kind of changed around, but roughly about 20% kind of thing that have the money to put down on there, kind of thing. In as far as current events going on, would $10,000 in student debt make a noticeable impact on your home buying ability? Yes, 60% of millennials say that, and I'm not trying to get political. I don't want to get political, but this is just a straight up question. Would it make a big deal for our millennial buyers? It would make a really big deal, kind of thing.
And just FYI, you can probably talk to the student loan to see they can combine and restructure it to where it's once affordable and their debt to income ratio is not over the DTI.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that, the other question they asked them, because, if Congress does do something with student debt, what do you guys, if you got that $10,000 in student debt, what would you do with it? Over half the millennials are going to put it for more money on their house. So that really does kind of lead towards, like, millennials already want to buy more houses. If they get that, if there is something with student debt forgiveness, a lot of that is really going to drive housing even further, which I'm not sure we have a lot of opportunity for right now. How stressed are millennials about buying? Over half millennials, 52% of millennials are stressed out about buying. So we've got to make sure that we are upping our communication. You know, I know that we started talking about
only
communication and
that, you're
relationships, but
right.
boy,
And education, y'all, if you do a great consultation. Now, what the beauty about Zoom is you can do a appointed time and do multiple people at the same time about education, and it will save you a little time instead of individual meeting. So it is important that you kind of go over the process and also explain some of the terminology that we have that a lot of millennial doesn't know what that means, you know?
yeah. So if you need some additional time, you got any questions, please feel to visit us at max1.rock/chat right after backstory. We always hang out and are available for agents if we can be of any service. And so I hope today we ran a little bit long, so I apologize, but thank you. Hope you're still with us. And if we can be of any service, please let us know. Call, text, smoke signals. We answer it all. Y'all have a great day.
Have a fabulous Monday.
Peace out.